Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to talk about how to approach passages that have charts, graph, etc. If we look at this particular question, we can see that there is a chart here, and so we're just going to attack the entire section. We'll see how this goes. I probably will end up splitting this up into multiple videos, but we'll just see how it plays out. Okay, so let's just tackle this. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is that when you look at this passage, what should you be thinking of doing? So hopefully you've watched the other videos and you realize that you shouldn't really just read through the whole thing. Instead, I suggest that you go to the first question and you read the first question. And the first question says the main purpose of the passage is to. Okay, well you haven't read the passage, so you really don't know the answer to this question. So what should you do? Don't answer the question. Go on to the next one. Question number 12. In the passage, the author anticipates which of the following objections to criticizing the ethics of free markets. Okay, have I read the passage? No. You have two options here. You can actually attempt to answer this question by reading the first couple paragraphs, or you can jump to question 13. And my advice is to try to jump to question 13 and use the lines to answer the questions. If you can't, then maybe you're just going to have to restart and reread the whole thing. But if you can get to the gist of the passage by reading these lines, then you're answering multiple questions at once and you're saving yourself some time. So it says the question that we want to keep in mind is question number 12, but we're going to use the answer choices of 13 to help us find it. So question 12 says, in the passage, the author anticipates which of the following objections to criticizing the ethics of free market. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for anything that talks about objections. So lines 4 through 5, let's look at that. So I'm going to blow it up a little bit. I'm going to try to blow it up. Let's see. There we go. Blow it up. We're going to go to lines 4 through 5. That's like right about here. And let's read through it. It says, some argue that because the free markets allow for personal choice, they are already ethical. Okay. Let's go back to what we have here. In the passage, the author anticipates which of the following objections to criticizing the ethics of a free market. Well, that is an objection right there, right? Some argue that because the free market allows for personal choice, in other words, because you're allowed to choose, you're free to choose, it's already ethical, right? So there's an objection right there. So the answer seems to be A, okay? But for the interest of making sure that we really do understand why A is the correct answer, let's go through the other ones. Now, one little piece of advice here, I think that what you typically should do is, because the time is of the essence, if you think you got the right answer, choose it, go on to the next question. You don't have time to play around. If time permits, go back, relook at the question, see if your position changes by re-looking at the question. Okay, let's look at 7 through 10. So 7 through 10 is somewhere around here. It says, but before we can label any market outcome as immoral or sneer as at economists who try to put a price on being ethical, we need to be clear on what we are talking about. Okay, so this seems somewhat of an objection, but it's not really. The objection occurs earlier, right? The objection occurs in our line. Here, it's saying it's giving sort of a task at hand to what to approach. So it's not really giving the objection, but it's very close to. It's part of the part that talks about, and this is something that's very important when you're taking the SAT, when you're studying for the SAT. You need to notice the subtlety of answer choices and why 4 and 5 is better than 7 and 10. Okay, let's look at 21 and 22. Okay, so I guess I gotta zoom in a little bit. 21, 22. We'll do that in green. Smith justifies selfish behavior by the outcome. Okay, well that's not an objection, so we know that that's wrong. And the last one, line 52 to 54. Oops. That's line 52. Oops. There's 52. Okay. When a finance official refuses to devalue, we're right here. When a finance official refuses to devalue a currency because they promise not to, they are defying the this way. Okay, so they're not, here again, they're not explicitly objecting, they're just saying that they're defining it in that way. So 13, the best answer is A. Okay, you can see even in D, I think there's a subtlety there that makes you sometimes feel that that is the answer, but A directly and best says that. Okay, so let's remind ourselves what line 4 and 5 says. Again, 4 and 5 says, some argue that because the free markets allow for personal choice, they are already ethical. Okay, so let's see here. What does that mean? Well, sorry, let me go back. What does that mean? Well, that means because you have choice, it is already ethical. So let's see which choice kind of coincides with that. A, Smith's association of free markets with ethical behavior still applies today. Free markets are the best way to generate high profits, so ethics are a secondary consideration. That's not what it's saying. Free markets are ethical because they are made possible by devalued currency. That has nothing to do with what it's saying. Free markets are ethical because they enable individuals to make choices. That's exactly what it's saying. It's saying because you can make a choice, it's free. It's already ethical. So free choices implies something being ethical. All right, very good. All right, let's go on to the next question. But before I do, again, remember we have not done question 11. My advice to you is if you go on to the next part, go write a little note to yourself at the end of question 20, or actually at the end of 21, because that's the last question. Make a note to yourself to look, or maybe better than look, answer first question. Because you're going to be, ideally you're supposed to spend 13 minutes. You only have 13 minutes per passage. I'm asking you guys to try to finish it in 12. But if we're going through these questions 12 minutes later, and a lot of thinking is going on, I probably forgot that I had left the first question blank. So it's very, very, very important, I think, to make a little note to yourself, especially if you're jumping around, to go back and answer questions that you haven't previously answered, because you may forget. There's a lot of information you're holding in your head. And with that being said, I think I'm going to stop this video here. I'll make another video. I'm already about almost 8 minutes in, and I don't think I can do the next bit in the next couple minutes. So I'll stop it here. I'll pick it up in part 2 with question number 14.